Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. It is fan chat time, so let's bring in the boys. Right then, we got Phil. Welcome back, Phil.
Thank you.
A new appearance, first appearance of the season. Frankie, you right, mate? And we got Daz and Darren. How you doing, boys? Everything okay?
Good, thank you.
All very good. Right then, a few things to discuss. Last fan chat, we'd sort of got nothing to worry about, had we? It seems like it was all going too well. And we knew we'd, being Walsall fans, we knew we were going to have some challenges at some point. And those challenges are coming. We will need to discuss that. But first of all, January transfer window, we've got another day. So we still could have some action. Matt Sadler said there's no more outgoings. But DJ seemed to be waving goodbye. Phil, is that what you thought?
I have to say, I as you know, I was at a concert last night, so I shot off early, sort of right.
Oh, so you didn't see it.
So I didn't see any of the waving, but I've obviously picked up that a lot of fans have suggested that was what it looked like. I can't comment myself because I didn't see it.
Okay.
So probably best to go to someone else on that one. I mean, it's something that we a lot, but yeah, I'll let someone else come in on that one.
Yeah, let's go Frank on that.
To be fair, I didn't really see much, but to be fair, I think it's true. There's been like rumours circulating that he might leave, and I think Sadler, if we get enough strikers in, then it wouldn't be bad for him to leave because he doesn't really play enough.
Yeah. Daz, the last 3 appearances, Daz, not Darren, yeah. That's the way I do it in my head. The last few appearances from DJ, I'm thinking Peterborough, and particularly the long run out he had at Bradford. Very poor indeed. And he did have a bit of a run at Fleetwood as well, didn't he? But his 2 goals, the first on Saturday, I think it was a heavy touch. He did well to get a second touch, but the second touch put it in the net. And then his second goal, just in the right place, and it just came off one of his waistband, I think we could say. So, Daz, the game time for DJ, is it just he needs game time to get fresh, or what? What's your view on him?
I think if he'd been playing every week, he'd have had a trick yesterday because there was a chance between the first and second goal where he took another heavy touch, and I think a kind of match fit Johnson would have had a hat trick yesterday and won it. It's difficult to see how he fits in. I'm right up there in terms of respect for what he does because in that 6-yard box he comes alive. He was the only player yesterday that was ever going to score them 2 chances, and they both fell to him. But in terms of the task he's given, if he's a starter or an early introduction, it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit. I love him, but it just doesn't fit.
So, if he is waving goodbye, is that the right decision for Walsall?
I would keep him for the time, but I really wouldn't be surprised if he went for his own career more than anything. But when you're 1-0, yesterday was a classic example. We needed a goal yesterday, and you wanted to put the ball in the 6-yard box and see what dropped. And there'll be a point in time later on in the season that we'll need a goal, and if he's not on the bench, you'll be looking around looking for somebody. So, as much as he doesn't fit, I still think he's got a role.
Yeah, Darren. Sort of going on from that same point, really, the confidence for DJ being on the bench and just used as a last-minute guy when we're struggling, how's his head going to be with that? Is he going to be happy to be dealing with that? Or do you think he'd be happier to sort of go to somewhere like rumoured Carlisle on loan and get a lot more game time?
Yeah, I think any footballer, he came in, I confidence is, such a massive part of like performance that I think any footballer who's come in with, such fanfare, all the shirts and all the love and everything, when you just suddenly almost, drop like a stone, as it were, I think that's going to affect. I honestly think that's going to affect you and performance and stuff. The ends justify the means, we're top of the league and what have you. I mean, just to slightly go back just a second, I feel like if we had a deal that was good for us, yeah, I could see him leaving tomorrow, but only on the proviso that someone comes in who does fit the system, who is sort of experienced at this level and can get the goals. I can fully appreciate that. But I'm also, like Dad says, I'm not surprised that, his touch was a bit heavy on occasion, because if you've been almost, frozen out's a bit strong, but if you're just coming on for 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there the last, 6, 9, 12 months, you're not going to be sharp, are you? So I do kind of understand that.
Too much from him, I think.
Pardon?
And I think he's had his health concerns.
Yeah, so I've got nothing against him, but if we can do a bit of business tomorrow and get him out on loan and then get someone in who does fit the system, who is a little bit, I'm sure we'll get onto the makeup of the strikers in a bit, but I would like to see a proper centre forward who would, contribute goals.
Yeah. So, go on, Phil. I was coming to you next.
Just a couple of things on DJ. I mean, one thing that we discussed a little bit before the game yesterday is that I'm not entirely sure that if Jamil Matt had been fit yesterday, whether DJ would have been on the bench at all. That's something to consider with the other striking options that are there at the moment. And you mentioned that, I heard a lot of people say, he didn't do himself any favours against Reading and against Peterborough. He did miss quite a few chances in those games, but he also scored in both of those games. And he also and what he does all the time is he gets himself in position to score. Yes, he could have had 3 or 4 against Peterborough, but the reason he could have had 3 or 4 is because he always gets himself in position to score. So that was, again, yesterday it proved if you put the ball in the right areas in the penalty area, most of the time he'll be in and around it and he'll get on the end of it, and he'll miss a few and he'll score a few, and that's what good strikers do. And he got a terrible slagging after the Bradford game, which I thought was very, very harsh. That some of the comments that were sent his way after the Bradford game. Yes, it was a poor penalty. But again, he picked the ball up and he put it on the spot because he wanted to score. And it was difficult to see what any striker was supposed to do at Bradford with the level of service that was put up to the strikers in the Bradford game. It's difficult to see what he was supposed to do with any of that, quite honestly.
Yeah. Jake's made a comment there as well. The chance he had right at the end, and that chance summed up why he's not been playing, isn't he? That summed up why he's not been playing. Just picking on a comment here from Gary, DJ's confidence is shot, but if he goes, good luck to him. We need to replace him with a goal scorer. Flash is a waste of time. Frankie, one for Frankie. Can we still get promoted if DJ goes and we're relying on Josh Gordon and the other guys? What do you reckon?
I think we can. I think the biggest thing is just not losing Matt. Matt is our key player. Yeah. Because when it was our strike force of Matt and Lowe, if we lose both of them, then I think that's like the worst thing could possibly happen. So he's our main player. Because all those shots that DJ had yesterday, I could probably see Matt scoring. And he's the only one in that team from our strike force that I can see scoring.
Yeah. The obvious question that sort of comes in, are we bottling it without Lowe? But I think my immediate response to that is we were fine without Lowe. It was when DJ got injured that sort of we took a drop. Obviously, Lowe was a key part of the team. But
just on that, Simon. Like I think this, with a natural progression to the forward. If we did lose DJ tomorrow and we didn't, as you said, we didn't replace him, then if you look at our strike force, Matt's out injured at the moment. We don't know when he's going to be back. So we're left with Levi. Who else we got? So we've got Levi. We've got Josh,
Ethan Wheatley,
and Ethan Wheatley, with a grand total of 1 league goal between them this season. So I would be quite concerned if he did go that we didn't replace him. If it was up to me, and it won't happen, I would get Josh out on loan tomorrow as well and get some proper strikers in. But I'll leave that one for the rest of you to discuss. Here's one statistic. DJ scored as many goals in 20 minutes yesterday than Josh Gordon scored in the league in the last 2 seasons.
This is very true. Let's park the DJ one for a bit. I've just got just a comment there. Natural goal scorer, Matt and DJ together. It's that press, isn't it? That's the thing. I won't be surprised if he goes out, says David Fletcher. I want to talk about the striker that came in, Ethan Wheatley. Now, for Man United, for under 18s, he is an absolute superstar. But that transition coming into the senior ranks, Phil, what do you think of him so far?
Raw, very raw, and very inexperienced, which is what he is. Don't forget that the Fleetwood game was I believe his first start in league football, and yesterday was only his second start in league football. So let's not go in too hard on him. It's a difficult task for anybody to be doing that. And yesterday he was up against an experienced hard centre half in Curtis Tilt, who he got the better of him all game. Let's be honest about it. It's difficult to judge him yet, but my early impressions of him are that he's not quite ready, which is why I think it's important that we consider the striking options very carefully between now and the end of the season. And as Darren said earlier, if DJ is going out, which has been rumoured by several people, we do need to bring somebody else in, because I agree that we particularly if Jamil Mapp struggles with injury between now and the end of the season, we look shy of goals. Look, he's obviously very well thought of at Man United. He's obviously got a lot about him, but he looks a little bit. Well, he is very raw, very inexperienced, and it's a big ask for him to come in and expect him to do what Nathan Lowe was doing.
Yeah, Nathan Lowe was at a similar stage of his career, though, wasn't he, Dad?
Nathan Lowe had played 15 games for Stoke last season in the Championship. Okay. 13 and a couple of cup games. He played a couple of cup games the year before as well. I don't really want to get into, from my point of view, Wheatley too much. But what I would say is you watch Wheatley and it instantly kind of reminded me of how non-academy style Nathan Lowe was. Nathan Lowe was ready for men's football, absolutely ready for men's football. The traits of the academy players, and we see it a lot, he got none of those. And it's very, very harsh to compare Lowe and Wheatley, because they're, albeit the same age, they're kind of at slightly different points in the career. Lowe's played nearly 40 games now in the league. As you said, Wheatley's played 2. He's got a lot to prove. I didn't like when he got took off yesterday. The moping between the 2 posts was a concerning sign, but it's very difficult to compare the 2. We hit the jackpot with Lowe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think defending Ethan Wheatley, I think he's only been in the building just over a week. So I think what I was saying to people before the game on Saturday, there's 2 things missing from his game. He needs to chase and sort of chase centre halves down and that sort of stuff, which I don't think he was doing enough. But secondly, we've got to give him the ball. He's making some good runs, and we're just not getting the ball to him. Darren?
Yes, that brings me on to my next subject, which is McKinty midfield, which I get in quite often. Are you surprised? I'm glad that experiment has hopefully come to an end again, because, as you know, it's my pet subject. But I think if we are going to, you know, he seems like he's someone who'll run in behind. He looks like he's really like rapid. He's quick. He's making runs. I'm not sure if we do play McKenty as an 8, for example, and Jellis playing on the left. I don't see them slipping him in or using him in such a way. For me, I think we need to get in at least one number 8 to come in to fill that role, probably left-sided, because Jellis is much better with Barrett on the right-hand side, and that might make us look a little bit more fluid. I just think we've looked quite disjointed the last 2 or 3 games, and I think with Ewan and Hall out with 2 bodies down in that position, so I think it's kind of like it might be an effect of not having those more creative or balanced 8 per se that we're missing out on.
Yeah, I think
on without strength, perhaps
without Jamil Matt in the side, it's nice in some ways that we haven't just lumped it up, pretending he's still there.
Yeah,
I remember when Elijah Adebayo left for the next 10 games, we just kept playing the ball up to him after he'd gone, and it was Walsall. The last couple of games, we've tried to play the ball out from midfield, right from the back, rather. So are people trying to work us out a little bit? And so are we having to change our style a little bit? Do you think that's, Frank? What do you think?
I think every single time we get a new team, they change their style of football to suit us. So when we were playing against teams such as like MK Dons, they played usually very on the ball, quite passive football. But when they played against us, it was quite long ball, quite attacking on the wings, quite direct, which they usually don't play. So we have to get used to teams changing their style to play against us, and I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah. Let's get people's opinion on Levi Amanchi. Phil,
I thought he did all right when he came on yesterday. Should have scored. He had a great chance to score when Charlie Lakin played him in, and he scuffed it a little bit. But he looks quite raw, but he's big. He looks quite strong. He won a few flick-ons, and I think him and DJ looked a far more threatening pair than Wheatley and Gordon. The ball was sticking up front a bit more when it was played up to him, which is what we continue to talk about why Matt is so useful. So yeah, I think there looks something there to work with. I think he's one of these players you'd probably put in the developed category rather than someone who necessarily come in to hit the ground running. But I thought he did all right when he came on yesterday, and he showed a few promising signs. How prolific he'll prove to be, time will tell.
Well, I think perhaps more of a long-term replacement for Jamil Matt is what I was thinking. But let me read the message I got from my contact at Bromley. We play Cheek up top, and that's it really. So he ended up being a striker graveyard. He's raw, has some decent touches on the deck, but should put himself about a lot more than he does. And he isn't anywhere near as good as you'd expect in the air, mainly because he doesn't get off the ground enough. However, there is something there. Just depends whether a team can nurture that or get that out of him. My understanding is we got an offer that was too good to turn down, so fair play.
I won't read you the message I had from my mate who's a Chesterfield fan about him.
I saw that actually. I saw that.
Where it was. No, it wasn't that one. I've got a friend who's a Chesterfield fan who WhatsApped me, and was less than complimentary. But that's it. People do different things at different clubs. We've seen that over the years. Certain players fit with certain clubs and certain systems. You've got to give him a chance to show what he can do.
Well, 17 in 21, wasn't it, for Maidstone last season? So it's not like 5 years ago. Like last season, he did very well. He's gone to Bromley. It's not worked for him. So the change will do him good, I think. But again, we've got to see whether he fits into the side and how well he does there. What did you think of him, Frank?
I thought he was a good player, but he also got a load of the balls that came over, nice headers downwards. And I think if we had a faster striker, we might have won those balls because he's quite good aerial. So when he heads the ball downwards, he flicks it onwards. If we get someone like Wheatley or someone who's fast, runs onto those balls, you could have a good counter-attack.
Yeah. So maybe him and Wheatley up front, perhaps. Him and Wheatley up front. So what do you think of him, Darren?
Yeah, I think he probably falls into the category of, with recruitment, you look at like emerging talent, pre-peak, peak and sort of twilight post-peak players, he's probably falling into the emerging category. So we shouldn't be like, expecting him to be knocking in 15, 20 goals. But for me, it's the makeup of the front line rather than just him. So, if we keep DJ, is that, and we keep Gordon and Matt and Levi, is that good enough as a front four and with Adoma? So my point is less about him as an individual. We're all fully behind him. It'll be funny either way if he's good or bad. But for me, we're Walsall, aren't we? So it's going to be funny. But I think it's more, does he fit into that? As you rightly said, I think he looks like a replacement or a long-term replacement for Matt. Whether he becomes that or not is another question. But it looks relatively low risk, I would hope. But not enough to form an opinion yet.
I think the goals. I saw the highlights from his highlight reel from last season, and he looked to me a cross between Elijah Adebayo when he first came to us, and Malfal. He's sort of arms and legs all over the place. It's really good. Sometimes he trips over the ball. Gaz, what were your thoughts on that?
I don't pay that much attention to highlight reels these days. I remember looking at an Andreas Makris highlight reel at the point when we signed him, and you think you've got the second coming of Maradona. So highlight reels could be used in clever ways. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I thought we couldn't leave January without having a credible alternative to Matt. Matt's injury this last week or so has kind of highlighted that, and you would struggle to bring somebody in better than Matt, who knew they weren't going to play, and that we could afford, and that a salary we could away and do as well. So I think it was a really difficult kind of solution to find, and I think time will tell, but it looks like they've come up with a creative solution as cover for Matt. If he scores goals beyond the end of the season, great. But I think it's an intelligent signing. Whether it works is a different matter.
Yeah, I think it's perhaps something a little bit different, and maybe can upset teams because he's an awkward player to play against, I guess, similar to Jamil Matt, as you say. But is he a signing that we'd use in League One if we were to get promoted? Phil?
Well, I believe he's been given an 18-month contract with a year in our favour. So if we do seal the deal and go up this year, then he will be part of a League One squad. I think what Darren just said, I think he's probably in the emerging category. He's obviously a player that Matt Sadler sees a lot of potential in. I believe Sadler said when we signed him that if he hadn't picked up an injury at a certain point in his career, that he would have tried to sign him earlier. Ben Sadler came out and said that he was a long-term target that had been secured. So it doesn't sound like a random big bloke that they've picked up and thought, well, he might be a replacement for Jamil Matt. There's obviously been some quite a lot of tracking of him in the past. They obviously see something in him that they feel they can turn him into potentially turn him into a League One striker. So yeah, as I say, time will tell. But we haven't got a lot wrong with recruitment in the last year or so. Let's be fair to the club. So I think we need to bear that in mind and give him a fair chance to develop.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It's we can't judge him just on the few minutes we've seen, and similar to Wheatley, he's had very little time in adult football and very little time with us. Wheatley's a great player, great acquisition, but wrong player at the wrong time for us, perhaps. It's one of them. It's like, how desperately do we need a goal scorer right now? And but I think when he's had chances, I think he had a chance early doors where he sort of diverted the ball to the near post and the keeper got down. Had another similar chance at Fleetwood. If he got his first goal, I think that would sort of lift him up and sort of get him moving, perhaps. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't direct that to anybody, so but we'll see. Right then, we've got a comment from Ozzy. I honestly will never be sold on Matt Sadler. He's been touching himself inappropriately for weeks to get Josh Gordon to get back in the squad and get rid of DJ even after Saturday. Well, I don't know whether all those comments are perfectly worded, but I understand what you're saying. Matt Sadler does like Josh Gordon. We were surprised when he gave him a 2-year contract. But he started off the season very well and obviously got himself injured. What's your... I know when we won 9 on the bounce, everybody loves everybody. Now things have sort of... We've got a bit of a dip. Phil, what's your thoughts on Matt Sadler right now?
I think anyone who's criticising him at this stage, I think personally, they need to get their head a bit of a wobble, because I know we all had our doubts about him, but we're still 9 points, 8 points clear. I think 9 points clear with a game in hand, and the gap to Wimbledon in 4th. Which let's be honest, the top 3 is what it's all about this season. If we win the league, brilliant, but if just get in somewhere in the top 3 is job done. Yeah. And we've still got 11 points on Wimbledon, 12 really if you take our goal difference into consideration. I just want to go back to the last time we got promoted, because in that season everything was going along swimmingly, and it was round about the same time, if it may have been slightly later, perhaps early February, we lost 3 games in a row. We lost at Hartlepool away, we lost to Lincoln at home, and then we lost to Stockport away. And I remember the same thing happening. The wheels have fallen off, etc., etc. Everything's gone wrong. We're going to blow it. And then the next home game, I think we beat Barnet. I think we beat them 4-1 in the end. But we went 1-0 down in that game, and there was rumblings around the stadium at that point. So it was never ever going to be. We were never going to keep winning. I think that the nature of the defeat and the nature of the performances of Bradford and Fleetwood were more concerning to me. But I think yesterday, particularly in the second half, there was signs that we'd shaken that off a little bit. But one thing that Richard Money did at that point is he freshened it up. He bought players in. He bought Kevin Cooper in on loan. He bought Kevin Harper in on loan. And he bought Trevor Benjamin in, all of whom made good contributions, big contributions between then and the end of the season. And I think we're in exactly the same position now. I think the squad that we've got has proven this season that they are good enough, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't freshen it up and bring new faces in, because I think there's a few players that we could name who've perhaps blown a bit more hot and cold recently. And I think we said on the last one, strengthen when you're in a position of strength. Don't be complacent.
Ben Sadler made a statement saying we're going to be stronger at the end of the transfer window than we were at the start. There's a few people worried about that statement and questioning that statement at the moment. But there's still another day to go, so we could still have somebody else coming in. Comment from David Fletcher, definitely need a right side of midfield. Because you had the midfield, we've sort of, with George Hall and Jack Earing being taken out of the picture, we are light on numbers. I always mention Ronan Mayer, but I think it's obvious that Matt Sadler doesn't fancy him in the team. So do we need another midfielder? Frank?
I definitely think so, because I think in these games like Bradford, he could have brought on, when he had no Jealous, a good player to be in Hall. Because Hall was out, we had Jack in, and we had no one that was attacking minded in that as Jealous is. And I think another attacking minded, more like a Cam kind of player Like, if he can play there, he can work down the wings and get us forward quite quickly. Because when Jace plays well, he plays really well. And when Hall was playing well, he started to look a bit more like Jealous. So we're losing attacking midfield. And so we lose the midfield battle. And I think that's the main problem.
Yeah, I think as sort of Darren's alluded to, sort of going back to Lakin and Jealous.
And what I think, Simon, is like, I think why there was quite a lot of success that first 3 or 4 months is it's almost a like for like. We could get, take Lakin off, take Jealous off, bring on Earing, bring on Hall. We could switch them around. Hall started a few games. They were all very much like they fit that role perfectly. Again, I'm going to mention it again. Osu McKenty is not a number 8, right? He's never going to be a number 8. It can sit in front of the back 4, back 3, not a problem. But he's got a role. Let me just clarify. I think he's got a role. He showed against Notts County, for example. Sorry, MK Dons or Notts County, I forget. Actually, both. If they've got a Crowley type character who you want to kind of suffocate, fine. Completely buy that argument. Not week in, week out. So for me, I at the start of the window, knowing Earing and Hall, were injured and going to be out a long period of time, I think 2. If we're going to be stronger coming out of the window, I don't think it will happen. I think we'll get. I've got a feeling we'll get a midfielder in tomorrow, but I definitely feel like we need someone in there to kind of complement the squad. With injuries, with managing game time and stuff. I'd like to see that tomorrow. I don't think this squad is stronger than at the start of the window at the moment.
No, I think obviously, if you just think switching Nathan Lowe for Ethan Wheatley, that's as Daz has mentioned, that's a not right to compare them really because of the different stages they are in their development. But I mean, that aside, we still don't feel any stronger. But I mean, if Jamil Matt's back in the team, Daz, on Saturday, is it all is well or not?
I thought it was naive of Ben to come out with that when he did, for what it was worth. I think he might regret that. I hope not. There's business to be done tomorrow, but he kind of gave everybody not everybody, because some people will be more patient, but he gave anybody that wanted to beat the club a stick with which to beat the club with. I thought it was a strange tweet. I'm astounded we haven't signed another number 8. I'm absolutely astounded we go into the final day of the window without the player that we know we've needed since the day the window opened. We didn't know we were losing Lowe the day the window opened. It wasn't public.
We guessed
anyway.
it, though, I think we guessed it.
But we've needed at least 1, if not 2, sets of fresh legs in midfield for all of the transfer window. And we go to tomorrow without that solved. And that I find that astounding, to be fair. They may well be waiting for the dominoes to fall, but they may also get caught short because we have to get bodies in tomorrow.
And there's one guy that was linked with us, Hindal Mustafa, Crystal Palace attacking midfielder, which fits the role of that more attacking-minded midfielder that we sort of mentioned. Sierra Leone international, 5 in 11 in Premier League 2, but he's only 18 and it would be his first loan. So again, we need a little bit more experience, don't we, Darren?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I wouldn't mind him and another with a little bit more, with league experience. I think that might work. But like Daz said, it's obvious. I think that's where the bit of a problem is, because you look on the bench. I mean, who do we bring on to change a game or freshen it up? There, if there's an injury, and there's such important positions in this formation and the way we play. Again, just to reiterate, we could almost interchange them with Hall and Earing. That has gone now, and I'm not surprised there's a bit of tiredness especially with Jealous. This is his first season in league football. It was nice that we could rotate him in and out. So I would be to use Dazzy's word, astounded if we don't do something about that tomorrow. And just to agree with about Ben Sadler's tweet, first thing I said when I saw it was like, Mr. Pomlet's been in his ear a little bit too much, because that was a very Pomlet type statement, wasn't it? That
Yeah, I know.
he's rubbed off on him.
Right there.
Yeah. Just on the midfield as well, Simon. Something that I think Darren alluded to it earlier, which I think was something that I couldn't quite understand is, I mean, I agree with him to a point about McKenzie midfield, but the thing that I could not understand is McKenzie on the right and Jellis on the left, because one of the big things for me was the Jellis-Barrett combination on the right-hand side, and that affected both players. It was obvious that affected both.
I think he's got this project and he sees McKenzie in that role, and he keeps on trying it. And I'm just glad he reverted back yesterday. But I think he's seen that as a project to think, oh, we can do this. But that Jellis and Barrett combination's been extremely strong all season. I think they work really well together.
Just a quick one, Simon. We're on the same thing, and I'm not a McKenzie. I'm not as much a McKenzie basher as Darren, but I kind of in midfield.
I like him. I do as well.
I do as well. We had no choice with Lowe. Lowe got called back. We had no choice with Jammer. He got injured. Yeah. To change the 2 8s at the same time as losing those two was self-inflicted. You know, having Jellis on the left, he can't play on the left. Having McKenzie on the right, that was self-inflicted. And you want to know why we're kind of struggling at the moment compared to when we were flying? All of the front four have changed.
Yeah, that's going to affect you, isn't it? The one player we haven't mentioned that's come in, Nathan Asimwe, cover for wing backs. We haven't seen much of him. What do we think from what the little we have seen? Who wants to jump forward on that one?
I saw him at Fleetwood, thought he did okay. It wasn't difficult to look decent amongst the performances because there was a multitude of 5s and 6s, but he came on, did okay. Looked like exactly what he is, which is cover for Barrett.
Yeah, he has said himself, hasn't he? Asimwe has said himself that he's defensively very strong and he's developing going forward. So maybe, and might be an interesting start to help us settle down and keep it tight at the start of a game. Another player that sort of we've got to talk about, even though he's not a new arrival, Evan Weir. What is he going to do to get a start?
Yeah, absolutely agree, Simon. I'm just about to butt in after that and say I think he'd think he was Evan Weir's another one who probably feel a little bit hard done by. His delivery from the left is fantastic, and you know, with the goals we've conceded recently as well, I'm quite surprised he's not had another start, to be honest with you. I think his delivery is fantastic.
I think Matt Sadler's perhaps keeping faith with Taylor Allen, but I think Taylor Allen has had a rough couple of weeks, hasn't he? And Liam Gordon too. So I think maybe it is time to let Evan Weir have a go.
I think the problem with her is when he plays MK Dons away, when he played on the left-hand side as the Gordon replacement, she was so different to Gordon. It was like Gordon was 10 times better on that left wing back. And I think that's the problem. He has to play that left-sided centre back.
Yeah. I think. Well, he got caught out at MK, didn't he? And that sort of pushed him away from the first team for a while.
Yeah, I think if there was an injury to Liam Gordon, it would be Taylor Allen or Asimwe that would fill in at left wing back, and Evan Weir would, as Frank said, would be left-sided centre half. And can I just say, what a performance at Notts County for him to come in, and I mean, he was outstanding. I mean, that goal line clearance was ridiculous. So how the hell he got to it and then managed to squirt it off the goal line was incredible. But he just had such an assured game, and he has got a great left foot, and proven by the ball he put in for Nathan Lowe for the winner at Notts County, and the cross for DJ yesterday. Yeah, I've been really impressed with him in the League Cup games and the other cup games he's played in as well. And yeah, I think he can count himself a bit unlucky that I think I'm right in saying he hasn't started a league game since Notts County, which, considering how well he played in that game, is a bit harsh.
Yeah. Well, I think probably he'll get more game time, I think. Yeah. Rusty, something normally shakes a team out of a wobble. I think it's fair to say we've had a bit of a wobble. It might be the freshen up that Phil mentioned. Maybe Saturday's comeback was because that game we'd lost that game, hadn't we? 15 minutes to go, the game was gone. The game was finished, and we were out of it. And then coming back from that character, that'll give them great strength, I think. Daz?
Yeah, I don't think there was a lot wrong on Saturday. We conceded 2 really poor goals. Take away the goal, and it's very easy to say that. Take away the goal. The first half was like a lot of first halves at Walsall, where we kind of have a feel and see what the other side has got. Instead of going in at 0-0, we're 1-0 down because we give away a really poor goal. Second half, I thought we had a good go. Second half, we were right on top. Goalkeeper stopped the game, which stopped our flow. We got done by a sucker punch, overcommitting, and we got it back. I really don't think there was a lot wrong. That 2-0 would have been harsh on us.
We battered them. I felt a bit sorry for Wheatley because he was getting pushed around, and then the moment he pushed back, they give a foul away. And Frank, what do you think of the refs we've had recently? Because for me, it seems like the refs have got together and they're trying to balance up the league a little bit to get people get closer.
Don't get me started on the referees. The referee crew, oh my gosh, I don't think she had a job after that performance. The referee yesterday is like 10 minutes from the on the corner on the floor for 20. How have you seen 7 minutes out of crawl on the floor for 20? He spent one of the whole first minute in that 7 just lying on the floor. So how was they played like at least just into the 98th minute? Like, it was shocking. But every single referee in the division, though, every single division, every team complains about referees. So I just don't think it's just us. I think it's just at the moment the pile of referees that are at the moment in all of English football is just not good enough.
And of course, for their second goal, Lund, that was a very clear handball. He controlled the ball with his forearm for their second goal. But I mean, it's just one of them, isn't it? Is that something we just feel? Is that something we just got to accept, that we're going to get rubbish decisions?
Yeah. Before I go on to referees, can I just say, Wishbones, if you don't want Leon Bailey, I'll come and pick him up for every game. If you don't, first thing I'll say there. On referees, I've got to say, I'm not as critical of referees as a lot of other people, purely based on the fact that sometimes I have to referee school games and I hate it. It's a horrible job. Why anyone would want to do it, I have no idea. I hate doing it when I have to do it. Anyway, the one thing that I think referees need to do, and this is a general thing in football, not necessarily the Walsall games, is they've got to start getting harder on time wasting. One of my pet hates in football at the moment, and we've done it, Simpkin's done it a few times, is these goalies going down and with these terrible leg injuries, to basically have a 3 or 4 minute timeout when the pressure's on. They've got to start wising up to things like that. They've got to start being harsher on time wasting and those things. I think yesterday the time wasting started on about 20 minutes, I think, for Salford. And that's where, for me, refs have got to be stronger and start giving out more yellow cards and saying to people, look, I know what you're doing. And if it carries on,
the one winger was taking about nearly a minute for each throw-in, and he never got booked for time wasting. It's weak, and as Frank quite rightly said, he'd obviously notified the assistant linesman to give 7 minutes. That was but then the last minute of normal time, or the last 2 minutes of normal time, and then the first minute of injury time, there was no football played. They just held on to the ball. So that should have been added on, and it wasn't, I think. And it was strange. We can all say this, and it's a bit of a joke, really, but I think another 2 or 3 minutes, and I think Walsall had won that match, because we were all over them, and they were caving.
I'll say Phil's point about yellow card yesterday. Have anyone seen an Arsenal match? They've got 2 red cards for time wasting. You know they can give away yellow cards.
I know that's a bit of a strange result. Arsenal won 5-1, haven't they? Against Man City.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. So Josh Gordon into midfield. What do people think of that?
Can I have a go here?
Yeah, go on.
Josh Gordon does the role he's asked to do. Okay.
Yeah.
When he went to play the Barrow, he scored a lot more goals. There's a job that he's asked Josh Gordon to do. It's the one that Jama has tried to do, you know. He's doing exactly what he's asked to do. If you're going to have a go on anybody, have a go at Sadler. I don't think knocking Josh Gordon for doing the role he's been asked to do is especially fair.
Yeah, I think...
sorry, go on, Simon.
I was going to say, he's not fully fit, really, either. He's only just coming back, isn't he, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the things I was going to say. And I just think sometimes we can be, and I'll probably do it myself sometimes, we can perhaps be a bit guilty as a fan base, as all fan bases are, of nitpicking a little bit with certain players, of maybe highlighting a lot of what they can't do and maybe missing what they can do. I think we've got to remember that these are League Two footballers. They're not going to be brilliant at everything. I mean, you know, a classic one that people always go on about is Liam Gordon's crossing into the box, which lets him down. But I think that's doing a massive disservice to a player who brings so much to our team and is so important in so many other ways. So I just think we need to be careful sometimes that we don't nitpick too much. And I agree with Daz completely on Josh Gordon. I know he's not everybody's favourite player, but he does a job, and we've seen what he can do, the energy, the press, the chasing down. That's why Matt Sadler brought him to the club.
I know you're going to disagree with that. No one's going to question his work ethic and running the channels and stuff. I think my perspective is purely from getting out of this league and surviving in League One. We know we can't do it in League One as well if we're looking ahead. I think what winds me up the most is the yellow cards and the fouling. That's what really, really winds me up. I mean, I'll repeat it because I don't want to this is a stat which I find astounding. He's got more league yellow cards than he has goals in his career. So I find that astounding, to be honest with you. Like that. He's doing a job. He's asked to do that job. I'm not sure I just don't like watching it personally, but that's just me.
I think, as Phil said, we can be sort of critical of certain players and that sort of thing. I like in this comment here. It's having a dig at Darren. It's probably your mate, to be honest.
It is. I know exactly who it is. Yeah.
Let's just,
He's in my WhatsApp group. So one of my best friends from school. Okay. So ignore Jeff's bill end. Yeah.
We've just got to sort of sit back and relax for a second. We are top of the league.
We are
top of the league. We're having a phenomenal season. Yes, we have had a bit of a blip. Could have been 3 on the bounce defeats. We pulled it round to show the character of the team. This team is the real deal. And yes, we are freshening it up. And historically, January is very bad for us. We actually had a very good January in terms of Walsall's history. And it looks like with a comeback that it could have all turned round. And if Jammer's fit on Saturday, I think we'll be sort of back onto winning ways. And what we need to remember is the fairly average form will get us promoted from this point. Go on, Daz. What you say?
Yeah.
What do you want to say, Daz?
Go on, Daz or Darren. Go on, go for it, Daz.
Go on, Daz. You agree, Daz?
I'll go. So, for me, I think this, the nitpicking and being a little bit I think it's purely psychological, and it's in the context of the last 10 years, right? I'm just desperate for us to have a little bit of success for my children more than anything. But like genuinely, all they've known is like the last 7 years, awful football. Nothing to get excited about. So for me, it's just the desperation to get out of this league and to have some success. And I think I'm just desperate for it. But in the context of the last 10, 15 years, could even go to 20 years nearly, which is worrying.
Well, I was on Gabriel Sutton's show, and we were talking about how well Walsall were doing. I said it's nice after like 5 or 6 years that things are turning good for us. And he said 5 or 6, don't you mean 20? That's I
fully understand why people get a little bit like twitchy and stuff. I know we've got individual differences in how people deal with stuff, but I understand why people are a little bit like, because we were so used to like being disappointed and being talked to like we're animals from the previous regime that we're just desperate for it. And I think it's that desperation that it's like it's there. We're ready to grasp it. So as long as we come out this window tomorrow and we get promoted, I genuinely don't care. Like, yeah,
just want to go back to Daz, but just want to look at this Chris Smith comment. Now Lincoln have got Joe Gardner. Do you think Draper will come to us? That's a possible. But I've just had a message you might want to read from Barry Collins from SNS Steelstock. Just popped in, say hello. I hear maybe 2 signing tomorrow. So I think one of them perhaps will be that number 8 that we're after. And then maybe another. So Daz, it's not been that bad, has it? We're having a great season. We've got to keep our chins up, haven't we?
Yep, we've got to. If we match what everybody else in the division does, we win it, don't we? We haven't got to go at the speed we were going at. I'm still relatively confident. I fear that the fear of failure is with me every day, literally every day. And the repercussions of failure don't bear thinking about for what it's worth.
Yeah.
But Trevella's a business. They're not a charity, they're a business. They're here to develop their investment. Tomorrow is a really big day for them.
Yeah. Going back to Frank, as a younger supporter who's not had years and years of playing, the joy, how are you feeling? Do you think we're going to have enough to get our promotion?
Well, to give it context, my first game was 3, and it was, I think, against Bristol City. We were 2-0 down, we won 5-2. My dad said after that game, things are not every single game is not going to be like that, and I agree with him. I've been to Wembley, which I'm lucky to finally see. I was finally to see, which and I was lucky to be under the Dean Smith season, so a lot of my good memories is not getting promoted to the Championship. And it'd be nice to get promoted into League 2, but that's the thing. I have been growing with playing team managers like Dean Smith, who was the best, but with players like Whitley and Keats, these managers who were not that good, and seeing players that we've had go on to do amazing things, and it's a bit like, I hope we get promoted, but there's still a lot to go.
Yeah, there's still a long way to go. And the chasing pack, they're all going to play each other. Now, Salford in 8th at the minute. I looked at their run of games. They've got to play everybody in that playoff area. They've got to play all of them. So it's one of them. Chap is saying he's worried that we haven't kept a clean sheet. We have kept a lot of clean sheets this season. Why do you think we've been leaking the goals, Phil?
I think one thing that we touched on earlier is the way that teams are playing against us. I think that anyone who's done their homework on us will know going into a game against us. There's no point just trying to keep the ball in your own half, because they'll just sit and they'll spring you and they'll hit you on the break. And I think what was really interesting in the Bradford game and the Fleetwood game, what they were basically doing was they were putting it on our defence early, and they were picking up a lot of second balls and clearances, and that That was something that we haven't done as well against in other games. I think there's a combination of things. I think there's been a few individual errors. There's been a few times where we've shot ourselves in the foot a little bit by making a few poor decisions. But I think, again, our success earlier on this season was built on the back of a really strong defence. We kept a lot of clean sheets. But yeah, there's been a few individual errors, a few things that have, I think, pressed us a bit higher. And as I say, particularly evident in the Bradford game, they're putting the ball on our defence. They were trying to get our defence on the back foot as early as possible, trying to get balls in behind us or putting balls onto our back foot and squeezing up and winning second balls. One thing that I know we haven't discussed, which seems to be a talking point that a lot of people are raising, is about Akagbou. I know that he's a player that, of all the players in the team at the moment, perhaps divides opinion a little bit more than some of the others. I think generally, defensively, for most of the time, he's pretty good, but I do worry that he's got a ricket in him. And I think we've seen a few of those lately. Yeah. I think some of his passing out from defence is Sunday morning at best, when he's having a bit of a stinker. I don't want to go in too hard on him because he's been, for the most part, he's been part of a back three that's been very solid. But again, I just think it's one of those decisions that Matt Sadler needs to make where when things are going well and you're winning every week, you can sometimes be a little bit too loyal to certain players. And I think there's certain times when he maybe needs to think, perhaps do we go with McKenty there for a few games? Do we put a Doma wing back for a few games just to freshen things up, just so nobody gets too comfortable and too complacent? So I think he needs to make certain decisions like that just to keep everybody on their toes, because we are still in a great position, but don't let any kind of complacency slip in at all. If there's the slightest problem that might be rearing its head, if you've got options to change it, freshen it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's key. We hear Matt Sadler saying they're going to need everybody, and it's when you've been on a run of 9 games, winning 9 games on the bounce. People don't want to change a winning team. So the likes of we've had comments on here. Connor Barrett looks exhausted. So maybe at Colchester it might be rest him for a game and have Adama there. So I think Adama's been used up front, but I mean, some people have said he'd be better off in as a number 8, sort of like attacking midfield. What do you think of that, Frank?
I'd have to completely disagree with that. Like, he's a good player, but he's not. He's got a bit of speed, but I just don't see him as a number 8 or as a full wing back, because he just isn't. His crossing, his output balls and his crossing yesterday was a bit atrocious. It's like a lot of the time, if it was a better ball in, we might have caused more chaos, but a lot of them get kicked away. So he's a good player, but sometimes his decision making is a bit too National League level, and I think him playing at that crucial position.
That's a little harsh for a superstar like Albert Adama.
Well, there's been times when he should have made the right ball, and he just does a weird ass trick. It's like, what were you doing there? This is not Premier League football. Or when he's running down the wing and he gets tapped on the back of the foot leg and he just goes down and slides to the ground. It's like he's a good player, but he is like a very good impact player. Because he comes on, changes the game. Yeah, it's a good ball.
I do agree that, particularly early part of the season, Adama coming on to sort of settle the ship and calm the ship. I think having him as a sub, coming on as sub, is a real good choice, I think. But there's only so many players that can fit on the bench at the minute. We sort of, like Asimwe, Nathan Asimwe didn't even make the bench. So that's another challenge one. Got a comment responding to Phil's. I thought Akagbou was poor on Saturday, yet won man of the match. Yeah.
I missed that. Did he get the sponsors man of the match yesterday?
Yeah, he got the sponsors man of the match.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would put in Oshie back into there. That's not a bad idea. That's good thinking, actually. Sort of stiffen up the defence.
That's his position. Yeah.
That's stiffen up the defence. That's an interesting one, isn't it?
One thing to defend Akagbe is he could have gone to Stoke. He could have stayed at Stoke, but he decided to move to Walsall in the transfer window, and I kind of respect that. And I think that's why I think I've got a lot of respect for him, because he could have been a player that could have got sat on the bench for Stoke and got moved forward.
Yeah.
But him coming here playing football is like a very respectable move, and I think he's a good player and he's a very good player.
Yeah.
I
know I've just massively contradicted myself by saying earlier on not to nitpick, and then I nitpicked about a Kagbu. So I apologise for that. But I think the more general point I was making is about just not being too complacent with and not being too loyal to the players that were in. David Kagbu was part of a defence that had a 9-match winning run. So I've got plenty of time today. Had a lot of very good games, but as I say, just. Don't be too loyal. Don't be too complacent. Just make sure if there's a player that you think needs. I mean, like, let's face it. He rested Taylor Allen against Notts County. Evan Weir came in and had a great game. So I think there are players in the squad who can just freshen things up from time to time.
Yeah, I think that's a good call actually. O'Shea back into right-sided centre half. Comment from Percy, talking about Simpkin. Save percentages is sort of right down the bottom of the league as far as that's concerned. But I think I heard conversation about that. When he faces shots, it's generally when we're sort of being exposed. So he's exposed as a keeper when that shot's coming in. And of course, we've got his save from Stockton that kept us in the game was I don't know, Gordon Bank-esque sort of when he got down and then saved it over the bar. So we can't be too harsh on him. I think generally he's done well. His kicking yesterday was awful though.
Simon? One thing with Simkin, I was behind the goal at Fleetwood with Percy, funny enough, and one thing that I sort of commented on or noticed was he's not very loud. Like I can't remember like hearing him shout, like going back to like Wacker and stuff. You could hear them from like the halfway line and stuff. So I think that's just with his age. He's
but that's down to
he's only a kid.
That's down to the coach, isn't it? The coach is going to sort of encourage
that
out of him.
I mean, he's quite quiet away end, and I could hardly hear him. To be fair,
I've got a question for you. Would you rather have Simpkin or Jackson Smith?
I think Simpkin is a much better keeper.
Good question.
What do you think, Phil?
I've not really thought of that, to be honest. I think Tommy Simpkin is pretty much what I was expecting. He's a young developing goalkeeper. He's made a few mistakes, but I think generally he's been okay. By the way, that was a great save he made yesterday, and at a critical time as well. Again, I felt that he came in for a lot of criticism after we lost at Fleetwood and after we lost at Bradford. Yes, he was maybe a bit slow to get down to the second Bradford goal, and maybe a bit slow to get down to the second Fleetwood goal. But Tommy Simpkin was not the reason why we lost either of those games.
No, I agree.
One of them wants to play for us. One of them thought, I'll go somewhere else. That's good enough for me. That ends the discussion.
I'll take the money at Barnsley, and then he ends up where's he on loan?
Grimsby, we scored 4 games. We scored 4 goals against him, so can't be that good then, can he?
I quite liked him as a person and as a keeper, but I think Tommy Simpkin is better.
We did come from Wolves though, so
that's it. Get it ingrained into him from a young age to hate the Wolves. Oh dear. Simpkin's only 19, still learning. Let's have a look.
Can I ask a question, Simon? What?
Yeah, go on. I'm just checking.
Yeah, while you're just having a read. Given the transfer deadlines tomorrow, we all know. What would we be happy with in terms of the business? When the clock strikes 11 and it's all over, what would we be happy with, like the business that we do or don't do tomorrow?
Haaland, Salah, Van Dijk.
Thanks, Dave.
For me, I think we need 2 experienced heads in, because we've got a very young squad, and we're getting to that point of the season where you need the experience to get you over the line. So, experienced heads for me. Gaz, what do you think?
I think we need a bit of experience. I agree with you. I think the model that they go with is young, improvable footballers, but you can still get players who've got some games within that as well. As I said before, I think tomorrow's a big day for Trevella. A really, really big day.
Yeah, I think in the midfield particularly. But then, can you have an experienced number 8 who's going to cover the same amount of ground as Lakin and Jellis? It's a tough one, isn't it? Do you want the general in the middle, or do you want the sprightliness of the youngsters? It's a bit of both, isn't it, Phil?
Yeah, I think if you look at the holding midfield role, you've got Sturkin, you've got Comrie that can play that role. So I think it is more likely to be a number 8 if they're going to bring a midfielder in, and that's certainly what I'll be looking for. We spoke earlier about how much we've missed Hall and Earing, as Darren said, the way that they kind of slotted in seamlessly when one went off and the other came on. We've definitely missed that. So yeah, an ideal transfer window for end to the transfer window for me would be a quality number 8, ideally on a permanent deal, somebody who could do a job for us in League One as well, and another striker. That I don't know where things stand with Draper. I think we'll probably go back for him in the summer, but I think that's probably not going to happen now. But yeah, another experienced striker who knows where the net is.
Yeah. Just a very quick comment there. Wishbones is asking for opinion about the gap wealth between Premier and the lower leagues. I think that's a different discussion completely. So I'm going to sort of move on from that. There's a comment about whether we should bring Hornby back in. But to be honest, when Hornby played against Peterborough, I thought he looked poor, really. He's good at saving penalties, but I think Simpkin is our number 1 keeper, and I think we should stay like that. Anybody disagree with that? No. Alan Cooper's saying, if we play DJ up front from now to the end of the season, he'll be our top scorer and score the goals to win us games and get us over the line. As for Josh Gordon, he needs to be shown the door. There's a lot of hate on Josh Gordon. Daz, as you mentioned, Josh Gordon is doing a job. We'd like him to score goals as well because he's a striker after all. But would we lose a lot of our attacking threat if DJ was playing every game? And would it be balanced? Would it be balanced by the fact that he'd get more goals?
He's got 4 in the league, including the 2 yesterday, I think. Getting back to Gordon, I think Matt comes in for Gordon next week, probably. Matt and another up top. I think Gordon then goes back to the bench so we can kind of park that. Johnson, I can't see him starting. I think he's a 6-yard box killer coming on when we're chasing games. If they do a deal for him tomorrow, good luck to him. If they don't, more than happy to have him in the squad.
Yeah.
But you won't find a better finish than DJ, but it just doesn't fit. Okay, it just does not fit.
Interesting comment here from Cyprus Sadler. Got to be signings with Division 1 in mind. You're nodding there, but I don't know whether I completely agree with you guys, because the job's not done. We've got to get ourselves over the line and then buy players in the summer. Phil?
But if they're if they're a player that can do a job in League One, they're going to be able to do a job in League Two.
Okay. I suppose that's fair. I can't really. Right then, we go. Yes, experience like going back to the Trevor Benjamin, Kevin Harper, Kevin Cooper era. That's the year rolling back the years there.
They were less of a gamble though. You can add in Nicky Henry and Rob Stoner into that as well from the grade and years. But we signed them deadline day, which was March. You hadn't got to carry him for 4 or 5 months. They were the people that were brought in to finish the job off. And you could see, I accept that somebody could say the players that are coming now are coming to finish the job off, but the job was a lot more done when we signed Trevor Benjamin, when we signed Rob Steiner.
Westy Jack is chipping in. 2 new signings in tomorrow, another forward and a midfielder.
Would be nice.
I'll have to ask Morocco Mole on UTS as well to see.
I was gonna I suppose my concern would be if their combined ages are less than 40. That would be my concern. But it's one of them. But that's good. We've got more players coming in. Could be that DJ's moving out if that's the case. As long as somebody's coming in who's going to score some goals. We started off tonight talking about DJ. Ahmad has got a comment here. I feel bad for DJ. He bags the goals in, and Josh Gordon doesn't. He scores the same amount of goals as Josh Gordon in 20 minutes. Well, but it's about the job they do, isn't it? It's the
I think we've done DJ to death on this over various fan chats, and I think we've all sort of pretty much come to the same conclusion. I think what will be interesting tomorrow is if he is moved on, then I would assume that will happen to free up wages to bring somebody else in. But as Daz said earlier, I'm more than happy if he stays around.
I'd be surprised if another forward comes in and he's still here personally. I think there's no place for him at all. No place.
Loan.
You've only got so many places on the bench, haven't you? Sorry, Dad.
If he goes anywhere else in League Two, loan, not sale. If you sell him, he can play against you, and we've seen that hurts in the past. If you
we don't want to do that.
He can play against everybody else but you.
I was going to respond to Ozzy's comment in a minute. Frank, what was that you were going to say?
I'm going to say the Josh Gordon and the DJ debate. DJ's a good player from the 6-yard box, but the thing is, a lot of the time, our way of playing football, we don't get to the 6-yard box occasionally. So the reason why Josh Gordon works is because he's quick and he battles for the ball every second to press. He might not be the goal scorer that you want, but he's the one that if the ball gets over the top, he's the one that can run and make the crucial pass. So that's the point. It's the way we play, and I don't think DJ fits as well as we could be.
Yeah, there's plenty hating on Josh Gordon, but as we've said, he does a lot for the team. He works for the team, selflessly for the team.
Just to play devil's advocate, we've managed to get 12 points clear without him playing for most of the season. Just to throw that one into the mix.
So what do you think? Say that again.
He got injured, August time, was it?
Yeah.
And he's only played the last 2. We've managed okay without him.
Yeah. I think if we'd have gone into the season, as I thought, with Matt and Flash up front for the season as the first 2, we'd have struggled. We need an Isaac Hutchinson type player, says Chris Smith.
Not for me.
And then Fallen Maniac has answered that very well. Is he the type of player who's going to help with the press? The answer to that is no. And we've seen ourselves. Sorry, Daz.
Hutchinson's ego did us the biggest favour ever in the summer. Made us change.
Yeah, and I think we're a much better midfielder. Much better midfield without him. 13 player contracts running out this year. We're not going to talk about contract extensions at the minute. We'll look at that maybe at the next fan chat. I'll put that down as a note to do that. Said something you can expect the opposite. He's had a few stinkers. Well, we don't know about that. I think I'm surprised Morocco Mole hasn't turned up in the comments.
I'm praying he's right tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're missing Jammer right now. Yeah, I think as we've been conceding goals, particularly the Fleetwood goals, Jammer is such a massive player for us there, both in defending and attacking. And we've got the long throws going in, and then there's nobody there to win them. So we're getting Jammer back out there is going to be a key moving forward for us. We are sort of running out of time, so I'm going to try and get through these. Would DJ move back up the northeast? Well, I heard a comment about Carlisle, but I'm sure Mike Flynn would like him back in Cheltenham, perhaps. Rumours actually we're going back in for Draper. If he comes in and DJ goes, I think that would be a decent swap. Somebody saying put McKenty up front. Darren would like that one.
I'd have some sort of seizure.
Another one, yeah. This is a I love optimism. This one. Do you think there's a chance we'll get Lowe back if they sign another forward? I think no. Must be sad to that one. Not the midfield player that will score goals or an Ostuma. That would be good. Well. So, final comments before we wrap up. Phil?
Keep the faith, everybody. We're still clear at the top. We're still in a position which would have all snapped everybody's hand off at the start of the season to be in at the start of February. Yes, we've had a little bit of a blip, but it is important that the blip doesn't become a rut. But I'm confident that it won't. But big day tomorrow, as we've said already. Big day tomorrow. We need. I think the boost it will give, not only on the pitch but maybe psychologically, the boost of a few new faces would be very welcome tomorrow. But yeah, I'm still pretty confident, and just need to keep backing the boys.
Okay, nice one, Frank.
It's like taking every game by the neck. So the next game is going to be big. The game after it's been big, but I think look at Colchester. If we can do, depends on how we bounce back. Colchester's the next big game. If we bounce back well, then that's a good indicator for the season. And if we lose or if we draw really badly, it's like that was once again like an MK Dons blip. So it's just about taking every game, not looking too far forward, not taking every game as though it's the end of the world, and just basically. If we do win, we will be happy, but take every game by the neck.
That's it. Just one at a time. One at a time. Slightly different question for Daz and Darren. Being so far ahead in the division, is it more pressure because you know you've got a lead, and when that lead starts diminishing, so, Daz, how do you cope with that? And do you think that is a problem?
Simon, I'm not coping with it, is the truth of the matter. Every minute of every game is killing me, absolutely killing me. But in reality, we've got 3-game buffer on where we need to finish. We don't want to blow it. Next, I think 6 of the next 10 are away from home. And you kind of, before you get into the final 8, which are tough, I think we've got four of the big ones in the final 8. So the next 10 are really important. I mentioned tomorrow many times. There's a lot of people with a lot of baggage at this football club who invested a lot of time. Big day for Chitrella tomorrow. I'd like to see the boat being pushed out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I think they're going to finish the job. We're going to that position now. We just want to finish the job, don't we? One game at a time is the message. Again, same message. It's just win our home games.
Yeah.
Before we get to Darren a second, I think we've got some very winnable games in February. Colchester away, Gillingham at home, Chesterfield at home, Morecambe away, and then Cheltenham away. So 3 wins there, and we're then 3 or 4 wins away from promotion, aren't we?
Last night, Wimbledon, Doncaster away, Port Vale, Barrow away. Our record at Barrow is abysmal. Harrogate at home, Newport away, Accrington, and Evan only knows what Crewe will be like on the last day if we need something.
God, don't, Daz, don't.
Thanks for that, mate.
We're not going for that. We're not going for that. So, Darren, so the mental, if you imagine from the mental side of things, being so far ahead.
Well, it's a natural human thing to react that way, but they're professional footballers, so I expect them to do the job. But it is going to, if they're winners, they win. So I'm confident. They've done it all season. Just keep on going. As Frank said, just each game at a time. Let's carry on. Just final thought for me really is I think we're one good day. If we have that good day tomorrow, I think it's going to be stand us in good stead. I just hope we have a good day tomorrow. We don't have a 2008 Scott Dan and Tan Fox situation. We have nightmares about. Honestly, mate, I remember my dad telling me the next day, or being up late with Percy, and being like, what? So I'm sure those days are over, but I think we're one good day away from putting us in a really, really good. We're in a really good position. But if we have a good day tomorrow, I think I'm quite confident.
I think Daz said something earlier. Just to wrap it, I think he said fear of failure, and I think the overriding feeling is amongst the supporters: if we don't do it this year from the position we're in, we never will. And I think that is probably creating a bit of pressure because of what's happened in previous seasons. But I stand by what I said earlier in the season. I think this squad, this team and this club and this organisation, I think it's got a lot more about it than they've had in previous seasons. I look at the, little things like the effort that the club went to get the Tranmere game on when, and realising the importance of getting that game on and keeping the momentum going at that time. I'm hanging my hat on the things like that prove that this is a different era. We're doing things differently, and if we get tomorrow right, that's a big.
Yeah, I think I'll say it just as a final word on it. Really, we're in a great position, and one game at a time. Just keep stepping nearer the line, and just hold together. And it's not just the team, the fans. The fans need to sort of keep that composure and keep on cheering and keep on supporting the team, because the fans were excellent on Saturday and were roaring us on. And I say we nearly got the win in the end. So I think we'll be all right. It's as long as the blip doesn't continue, and Colchester are on a good run. But if we can stall their run, get back to winning ways on Saturday, then I think we're on the march to promotion. I hope. Right then, thanks everybody for watching Walsall Fan TV. The joy and the pain, we're experiencing both. Go on, Daz, you want to jump in?
Without being patronising, just want to say I thought Frank's been brilliant tonight. It's very difficult to talk to four middle-aged, aging blokes. Frank, I think you've been brilliant, mate.
Thanks.
Nice one. Lovely chap. He's been good on fan reaction as well. That's why I brought him on. He did his training on fan reaction.
You definitely always got the best podcast, so that's the main reason.
Cheers. Thanks everybody, guys. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your time as always. And we'll be back end of the month. Cheers.